Guys, today we have to talk about selling to Fortune 500 companies. Even if you're a solopreneur, an agency, or a small business, you can close Fortune 500 deals and enterprise deals worth millions. Here's how agencies can do that. I'm going to give you the formula today based on my expertise coaching small one-person agencies to close $50,000 plus deals with Fortune 500 companies. We've done this multiple times, and it's not just about better tactics. It's about a fundamentally different psychology. You're not selling to decision makers who can say yes immediately. You're building relationships with internal champions who need to sell your solution up the chain and sideways through their organization. So today I'm going to show you the enterprise building framework, how to make authentic human connections that turn into lots of money down the line and can even secure your company lots of other enterprise deals in the future through the power of referrals. Getting enterprise deals is massively transformative for your business. You can get higher deal values, just period. Enterprise clients pay enterprise prices, obviously. You can get longer relationships for multi-year engagements instead of just monthly churn. You're going to have market credibility. Obviously, enterprise logos attract other enterprise prospects. And then strategic partnerships, enterprise clients can introduce you to other enterprise clients, and often there will be internal referrals. If you crush it with one department of a big company, sometimes they'll refer you and you can do work with multiple other departments or multiple other business lines or verticals. The sales skills that I'm going to teach you today actually do transfer down the chain as well. Let's say you become good at landing a couple of great enterprise clients. Well, now it's going to be a lot easier for you to use these same skills on the solopreneurs, the small business owners, the medium, the mid-market, and that's going to translate. So let's dive in. Here's the first thing you need to really understand. It's an enterprise mindset shift. You're not going in and pushing your sales process like I teach you guys to do with every other level of sales. You're going in and you're really signing up to follow their buying process. Yes, the enterprise will have a buying process that you have to follow, and that's just the way it's going to be. Because if you say false urgency or false scarcity or even true urgency or scarcity, if you try to pressure them and say, well, I can only fit you guys in if you sign up today, they're going to say, all right, well, tough luck. We're going to go with someone else because we don't make decisions quickly. And you're going to have to abide by that because they're the 900-pound gorilla and you're not. Like, imagine a 150-year-old precision engineering manufacturing company. They don't do anything quickly. They have 30 different committees that everything has to go through. They don't buy fast. They don't do anything fast, right? So your job isn't to create urgency through scarcity tactics. Your job is to understand their internal timeline and decision-making process and position yourself advantageously within their existing process. So the urgency has to come from them, not you. And let me tell you the way you're going to figure this out. You're probably going to be talking to a lower level employee in the hierarchy. Remember, every company is a hierarchy, and the bigger the company, the more ladder levels there are on the hierarchy that you have to climb. So you have to understand where this project fits in the hierarchy of that employee's whole career. In corporate, and I can tell you from firsthand experience working at Fortune 500s, there's probably 2 or 3 different projects in an employee's life at a company that are going to make or break their career at that company. So if you nail maybe one big project early on in your corporate career, it's going to rocket you up the ladder faster than you ordinarily would rise. If you nail 2 or 3 of them, you're going to be their superstar, their golden boy or girl, and you're going to get all the perks, all the benefits. Things are going to go really well for you. So you want to help identify and understand for your champion, the internal champion, the person you're talking to who's gathering the information on the vendor decision-making. You have to understand, where does this fall for their career? Is it career defining? Is it busy work that their boss just gave them to keep them out of trouble? Or is it somewhere in between? Now, you have to realize also your champion might not know themselves. They might not have this concept of 2 to 3 big projects that could make or break my career here. So even if they don't know, you have to understand. If it is career defining, then they'll have urgency because their promotion depends on choosing the right vendor or getting the right result, right? Which as a consequence of choosing the right vendor. If it's just busy work, they're going to appreciate you making everything easy so they can just get back to their real job of slacking off. Again, what you want to think about this is you want to be the vendor that they're going to select because you make their job easier. They're going to get the great result and they don't have to do much work. Those are the 2 things that you want to find a way to communicate and demonstrate rather than just telling them like, hey, if you select me, I'll make you look great and you won't have to do any work. That's a little bit too on the nose. You want to demonstrate through your actions that you're going to take care of everything. You're going to do all the work and they're not going to have to do much work. They're just going to get the benefits. I went to business school, for example, and business school loves assigning group projects. And in group projects, there's the same team, every single group project, no matter what level or no matter what class you're in. There's one person who does all the work or does 80% of the work, and there's a bunch of slackers, and there's one person who just completely checks out and isn't around ever. And there's maybe one person who's kind of mediocre, giving like mediocre contributions in the middle. Well, it's the same in a corporate environment. And so what you want to do is you want to be that one person who does 80% of the work, and you're going to give them 80% of what they need to do their job, or 90%, or as much as you can, so that they can just chill out and appreciate you. And if you can demonstrate, oftentimes you'll be chosen as the vendor. And not only that, they'll drag you around to different companies with them wherever they go. And then you can just get those referrals and make tons of money. So this is what takes us from vendor to partner. So when you're dealing with non-decision makers, you've got to realize your goal isn't to close them. Your goal is to turn them into those wildly excited internal champions that will sell your solution well enough to get it across the finish line. So there's 3 things you want to do to bring this together. Is number 1, assess where they're at. Assess how this project fits into their goals and their everyday life. So get a background. What is their job like, their day-to-day, their priorities, their QBOs, quarterly business objectives? What's a win to them? Ask them questions like, oh, how long have you worked here? Oh, where did you work before? How do you like your job? How did this project land on your desk? Is this your initiative or who assigned this to you? So that's getting into the assessment. Phase 2 is vision alignment. Oh, well, like, where do you want to be in your career? Where would you like to go in the company, or where would you like to go after this company maybe? What would success on this project mean for you and your department? How does this project fit the quarterly objectives? What would failure look like for them personally? Does it even matter if this project comes off well, or is it just kind of busy work? And then phase 3, partnership positioning. How can you help them look good internally, right? How can I help you? What is the hardest thing in your job day to day? What is the most onerous, difficult, boring grind of your job? Every job has a grind, John. Like, tell me, what's the grind in your business? What data do they need to build a really compelling case? Who are they presenting this to, and what do those people care about? And then how can you make their job easier throughout the process? Literally, most internal decision-making on vendors comes down to a 12-second pitch in a big, huge staff meeting. There might be a 30-second pitch. There might be one slide, right, where you get 1 inch of space. Think about that. And so you want to condense your pitch into that 1 inch of space, those 12 seconds. You need to realize that your internal champion is going to represent you as a vendor alongside a bunch of other vendors in a very crowded meeting where they're probably super nervous and don't like public speaking. So you have to really set them up for success. And there's a great resource I'm going to link you guys in the first link in the description. It's called the 1-Page Business Case. And it's a document you can share with them and you can co-create with them, where they can actually summarize your whole sales argument into a single page. And then further, you can summarize it from there, or they can summarize it into like a single 12-second statement that they can say in a meeting that sounds better than every other vendor combined. And that's how you get selected. Again, if it is one of their 2 to 3 big chances in that company to rise the ranks, then if you can help them nail that, they will be very loyal to you, and they will take you around to every other company they go to, or they'll just remember you for years, and you'll have a very strong internal champion. You'll probably never churn that client as long as you're with them. So understand that. Okay, so now we have to talk about a topic that comes up a lot related to enterprise sales, and that's rapport. And a lot of people are going to say that, oh, enterprise sales are done on the golf course, or it's all about knowing, liking, and trusting, and it's all about just like lots of boozy dinners, and that's how you do enterprise sales. And to an extent, in some industries, that could be true. But beyond all of that, because you're probably working like most companies are these days, remote, and you're not necessarily going to be able to fly out and play a round of golf and have boozy lunch and dinner with every possible prospect, because that gets expensive. You need to at least make sure you're not making the critical mistake of thinking that rapport is just sports and weather. All right, let's go into what rapport actually is beyond that surface level connection that wastes precious call time and energy. So this is how I teach rapport. It's what I call the universal experience strategy. And what it is look for opportunities to either vulnerably share from your own experience or inquire about experiences that they vulnerably share and offer up to you. Universal human experiences, such as births, deaths, funerals, health challenges, major transitions, moves, jobs changes, family events, travel exhaustion, sleep deprivation, stress and overwhelm from big projects, working weekends, seeing companies downsize and replace staff and not hire like they should, seeing companies replace real people with AI. There's a lot of that going around. Excitement about new opportunities, learning new technologies, being given very little time to do something that you should be given more time to do. These are universal corporate experiences and human experiences that almost everybody can relate to. So if you have an opportunity, share vulnerably. Say something like, yeah, I just got out of a flight. It was delayed. I only got 3 hours of sleep. So I'm not all there today. Forgive me in advance. That's something that most people can connect to and relate to. Yeah, we had a lot of trouble figuring out how to integrate AI into this part of our business as well before we figured it out. So displaying some vulnerability and inadequacies really helps others open up. This is just basic mirroring, right? And remember, everyone in corporate feels like they're wearing a mask. They feel like they're performing all day. So the more you can drop your guard and drop your mask, that encourages them to drop their guard, drop their mask. And you're going to turn the vendor call from being bland, boring, soulless at the best, or even confrontational and oppositional, which is the worst case scenario. You should be refreshingly alive. You should be present, engaged, curious, transparent, and helpful when you're speaking to these people. And when they get the sense that like, hey, this could be my new work best friend, and they could take a lot of the work off my plate and they could help me get my next promotion and raise, then they're going to be much more likely to actually want to stump for you and get you hired. And this also goes in to something I like to call the enjoyability factor. You want to become the call they look forward to. When someone enjoys working with you or enjoys having a call with you, if it's actually enjoyable, it brings a little ray of sunshine into their otherwise drab and dreary and grindy workday and workplace. You want to be a more positive experience for that. So here's some ways you can do that. It's superior listening, intellectual engagement, and professional warmth. So superior listening. Actually take physical notes. I know you've got your AI note taker or whatever, Fathom, but take physical notes. It changes the way your brain remembers, and it's going to change the way you interact with them. It's going to add natural, organic, warm pauses to the conversation that are really important to slow things down and change the pace of the conversation. Refer back to specific things they said. Remember things they said. Note them down. Put them in your CRM. Bring up work and personal relationships and things they mentioned to you. Notice their language patterns. Reflect that back to them. Hey, I noticed you've used the word dialed in, the phrase dialed in a bunch of times. What does that phrase dialed in actually mean to you? Ask them thoughtful questions about their industry, their challenges, show genuine curiosity, demonstrate you understand their world and their industry on a high level. Do more research than other vendors are going to do. That's a high bar, but you have to reach it to close enterprise deals. Be genuinely interested in them as a person. That's professional warmth. Follow up on personal situations that they've shared with you. That's professional warmth. Remember, you're talking to a human, right? This shouldn't feel like a social robot interaction or a sales robot interaction. It should feel like a genuine human interaction. One of my mentors, when I left my corporate job, had written me a note, and my going away note had written like one of the most enjoyable professional relationships I've ever had. And she had done a lot to elevate me and to mentor me and sponsor me in that organization. And that just goes to show, if you're extremely enjoyable to work with, if you're someone that people enjoy interacting with, they're going to go to bat for you, and they're going to try to help further your interest in your career because they genuinely like you. So you want to be one of those people, right? You want to emphasize and capitalize on your likability. But I also want to caution you guys, because there is this adage of people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And I've been told that this is difficult, right? You guys have heard elsewhere in other sales training, oh, people don't need to like you, but they do need to respect you. So how does that square with likability? And you should be someone that everyone knows, likes, and trusts. People only buy from people they know, like, and trust. But then they don't need to like you. How does that work? Well, you don't need prospects to like your personality. You need them to like your competence. An example I would give is, let's say you're in a life-threatening situation and an EMT comes to help you, and he's competent, he saves your life, but he was an a-hole to you the whole time he was doing it, right? Maybe he's disagreeable on a personality level. So you might not like him. You might not want to go get beers with him after, but you do like him because you like his competence. You like his respect, or you respect his competence. So that's the difference, right? In the best case scenario, you have a likable personality, they gel with you. But failing that, because you're not going to be able to achieve that with everyone, at least they need to like your competence. They need to respect you for your competence. So I would rather you be disagreeable and point out areas where they're wrong, or they're thinking about things wrong, or there's gaps in their expertise, challenge them on those gaps. That's going to create professional respect, which is even more important than professional liking. Professional liking is like the icing on top, but professional respect for your competence is the cake. And the fastest way to establish professional respect is actually by directly challenging their misinformation or their misunderstanding. We all know prospects, even from enterprise And Fortune 500 companies jump on calls with us in our field of expertise, and they have misapprehension or misinformation, misattributions. They don't understand the industry as well as they think they do. They're misinformed. So correcting that and challenging that misinformation is a major way you're going to be able to establish that professional credibility. And that's the liking we're going for here. So remember, sophisticated prospects, they don't need you to be their friend. They just need you to be competent. You can deliver the results, reliable, someone who's not going to make them look bad, who's going to make them look really, really good. And then strategic, someone who understands the business at a deep level and understands how to get results for their business. So this brings up us finally to the decision matrix strategy and how to coach the internal sale. So you guys heard me talk about this in other videos, but just to briefly go over the strategy, you're going to say, okay, hey, Jenny, I understand, you guys are looking at 6 or 7 different vendors for this service. How are you guys making your decision? What decision-making criteria are you looking at and evaluating when looking at all these different vendors? Now, they already might have something built, and if so, you want to see that. But if they don't have something built, here's an area where you can actually build something and help them get across the finish line. And by build something, I mean, go ahead and click the link in the description. I've created a template for you. You don't have to build it at all. You can just modify it for your own purposes. Open that template, click File, make a copy so you have your own copy of it, and then modify it to your purposes. And the way you're going to modify it is you're going to already look at a couple of your competitors. Maybe if you have some big brand name competitors or smaller competitors you've heard of, and you're going to put that in, your name column. You're going to put the competitors in the competitor columns. There's a weighting system. You can decide how to weight different factors such as price, reliability, speed, customer service, security, all that good stuff. And you're going to ask them, hey, what's important to you? You're going to help them design evaluation criteria that favor your strengths and also counterposition against competitors' weaknesses. And then you're going to supply the supporting data. So you can provide case studies, you're going to provide specific numbers and metrics, and you're going to create materials designed for internal presentation. While your competitors are frustrated and trying to get to the decision maker, you're just going to be helping to design the evaluation process from the get-go. And you're going to influence the decision makers before the other vendors even get in the room. And they're going to be using your spreadsheet that you got from the first link in the description of the video, and you're going to be using that to prejudice them against the vendors already. It's diabolical. You have to do this. Enjoy that resource and shoot me a message or leave a comment down below if you have any feedback on that resource, or just shoot me a message, drew@salesbytomorrow. So again, the final thing I have to teach you guys is you have to be patient with enterprise sales. The initial research phase could be 1 to 3 months. There's going to be a vendor evaluation phase, internal approval process, contract negotiation could take another 30 days to 60 days to 90 days. So you have to be patient. It might take you a year. It might take you 16, 14 months to close one of these big enterprise deals. But be persistent, stick with it. Then you'll have the logo. And by the way, if you can close a $100,000 deal or a $200,000 deal, it doesn't matter that it took you 12 months. That's time well spent. So just be persistent. Instead of pressure tactics, obviously you're going to provide helpful resources, case studies, keep sending them tools, additional resources, additional materials that might help them in their business. You're just going to continuously provide value. And eventually they're going to be like, okay, this person is already indispensable because of how attentive and valuable they've been. And then they're going to buy from you. So again, enterprise sales, it's not just you're going to get this one-time big chunk of change. It's that you're going to cultivate an internal champion who might actually just take you around to different companies. You're going to get the logos, you're going to get referrals, you're going to get internal and external referrals, and it's going to massively change your business. So if you guys have any questions about anything we've talked about today, go ahead and put them in the comments down below. I'll read and respond to every single one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.